What's up, guys? This is Coach Grant with First Down Training, and today we're going to be talking about some great routes that you can learn from a five-star wide receiver. So I hope this video helps you guys out. Hope it could teach you a few new things, but also, fellas, if you're a wide receiver or a quarterback and would like to train with us this off-season, we are going to be traveling out to 14 states across the country for 2-day-long QB and wide receiver training camp. So this weekend, we're going to be in Orlando, Florida. That camp is completely sold out, but next we will be in Phoenix, Arizona, Charlotte, Dallas, the DMV, St. Louis, Honolulu, Boston, Cleveland, Austin, Seattle, Newark, Denver, and Los Angeles, California. So if you guys are local to one of those cities, would like to train with myself and my staff of coaches for 2 whole days of training, 8 hours total, check out that very first link in the description below. We'd absolutely love to have you out. Let's get started with this video. So now, first router is going to be from Jonte Cook. Now, he is going to be doing something called a triple rocker step on a post route versus inside shade off man coverage. So against inside shade off man, that's usually a tough coverage to run a post on, right? Because he's sitting off right about 8 to 10 yards. You have to break at about 8 to 10 yards. And if you just run a regular route, you're going to run right into him. So one of the common mistakes that wide receivers will make is that they will just try to stem this DB to the inside, aka attack his leverage. He has inside leverage right now because he's lined up inside shade. So guys will try to attack him inside, hoping that he will backpedal, and then they break off right in front of him. Now, the reason why you don't want to do that is because any DB that's disciplined, any DB that's ever practiced off-man coverage, when a wide receiver stems you to the inside, he is just going to do something called weave, which is keeping his leverage, which is essentially just keeping the same position he's at right now. He's going to weave to the inside. He won't backpedal straight. He'll backpedal almost at an angle because we are stemming to the inside. You attack his leverage, he's going to keep his leverage. His sole responsibility being inside leverage, protect the inside. Don't let us run a post. So what we have to do is we have to attack his outside shoulder and his outside hip. And so he uses a triple rocker step here. So let's play at full speed. He comes out, he goes 1, 2, 3. Attacking the outside shoulder. That is textbook on how you would use that move. That is textbook on how you could get separation on this route. So there's just a more creative way of doing things, right? Because if you have an inside shade DB, essentially what you could do, kind of like a $1 move, is you would go right at his outside shoulder with a ton of speed. You would act like you're running a fade. You would keep good pad level. You would run full stride. You would run full speed. And hopefully what we could get this guy to do is open up his hips and flip so we could slip back underneath. Now, again, we want to be a creative wide receiver. Wide receiver is all about having different things in your tool belt that you could add to your game that look similar. So when he comes up on this route, he gives a little tempo change, he accelerates, he goes 1. That's the first part of the rocker step. When you guys do a triple rocker step, which is essentially 3 steps, he goes 1, break 2, break 3. Those 3 steps that you take, you want to step opposite of the direction you are going first. So when he comes up to the route here, you see how his first step is outside, but he's breaking inside. Now, what does this sell? This sells like he is running an out route, running a corner route off of just a regular rocker step. You look at all the best guys in the NFL. Cooper Kupp's a great example. Justin Jefferson's a great example. They all run their routes at the top of the break very similar, but they work different moves. And Cooper Kupp is probably one of the best that you can study for this if you really want to see some NFL guys run routes. But when he goes up into this break, if you had inside shade off man, and let's say you were running a 10-yard out, what you could probably do is you would attack him and give him just a regular rocker step cut, which is a 1 and then a 2. So you would fake outside, jab back inside, and then run the out route. So that's what we're trying to make it look like. He goes up here, he's trying to make it look like that 1, 2, and then on the third step, his hips and his shoulders look like he is stepping to the outside. That is what's going to get this DB to bite. Because anytime a DB's in press man, off man, catch technique, where are his eyes supposed to be? At our hips. So if we can sell the route with my hips, sell the route with my shoulders, that is what's most likely going to get him to bite. And honestly, when he's inside shade, all I need him to do is just jump outside even for a step. Because now I can run that post. I'm not going to end up breaking in front of him, getting rerouted across the field. I actually have some space now for my quarterback to throw me open. I kept spacing on a play. This is a realistic way to run a route rather than just running across the field and catching a post on the opposite hash, like everybody loves to do in one-on-ones. So that is textbook right there from Cook. Now, when you do this type of rocker step move, I want you to pay attention to how he is striking the ground. Is he reaching way outside of his frame? No. Is the heel striking the ground? No, because when you do this rocker step cut, you have to be able to push off of this foot to generate explosion. So when he makes that cut, you see how he's on the middle arch of his foot, pushes back to the inside foot, middle arch, ball of his foot. So he can push and he could actually sell that outside cut. Now, when he sells at this hips and shoulders, you see how his toe stays forward. On any rocker step, fellas, you never want to open up your toe and point it way out towards the sideline, because that will open up your hips and you will get stuck on that foot. You want your upper body to be loose, lower body to be sudden. We're quick with my feet, but my upper body is what's going to make that DB move, because that DB ain't looking at your feet. He's looking at that upper half, and that's what can get you open. Let's play this thing again, full speed one more time. Great job by Cook hitting that triple rocker step and then getting that DB to bite to the outside so we can win. So now, next example here is another route from Johntay Cook, and this is kind of the same example here. This is like a post route, dig route, however it is, but you see, he only uses a double rocker step, or just a regular rocker step on this. So again, another creative way to run routes, because maybe one time what he has done on a route is, let's say you have inside shade off man coverage, and let's say again, you got to run a corner route, or let's say you got to run a fade route to the outside out of the slot. How would you guys do that? How would you guys run that route? Because again, fellas, running routes is all about making your routes, making your releases, and we're going to show a great press release here from Cook in a second, but it's all about making it look the same. Because if we can get in a DB's head and start to make him think, start to make him try to guess, try to predetermine what we are going to do, but him not really actually know what we're going to do, that's how you create a ton of separation. Like I think of it always like Davante Adams off the line. Whenever he's got like press coverage, what does he always do? He does a little skip release, and he could either hit a crossover and run a slant, or he could do a little skip release and go run a fade, right? He does that all the dang time. But DBs have no idea what he's doing because he makes it look the same. It's the same tempo. It's the same steps. Everything about it looks similar. So they have to rely on their technique, and they will always be a step behind when they do that. So top of the route here, you could do the same type of thing. Cook's attacking him. Again, you got to run a post versus inside shade off man. Let's attack that outside shoulder. Let's try to get him to jump to the outside. So he does this rocker step cut. And again, you see he's stepping, but it stays inside of his frame. What's striking the ground first? What's striking the ground on that one is a little bit of his heel. But again, he's not reaching to where his leg extends, his knee locks out. He's keeping that foot inside of his frame. I would like to see him strike the ground more so on the ball of his foot middle arch so he could drive out faster. But again, fellas, it's about keeping that cut inside your frame, knowing how to sell your routes, making this thing look exactly like how he would run an out route or a corner route, and that's what gets a DB to bite. You have to understand how hard it is to play DB. It is extremely challenging because you are guessing on every single snap. You have no idea what the wide receiver's doing. You don't. You could kind of guess. You could kind of try to anticipate by the formation, by the route concept, but at the end of the day, they don't know. So you have to use that to your advantage as a wide receiver. Let's play this thing again, full speed one more time. Great job by Cook coming off the ball, being patient, hitting that rocker step, and then attacking the outside shoulder. So now, next example here is going to be a clip from a 7-on-7 event, I'm assuming, or a scrimmage or whatever it is. And this is Cook here running, or using, I should say, a wide step release. So a wide step release is probably my favorite release. I get that question asked a lot. What's your favorite route? What's your favorite release? Favorite release is a wide step release. I think this is a great release to use for any time that you face head-up coverage or outside shade coverage. So what a wide step is, and we're going to play his full speed in a sec, is you see how his right foot is up and his left foot is back. A wide step in this case, or excuse me, disregard. His left foot is up and his right foot is back. A wide step in this scenario would be when his right foot steps wide outside of the DB's frame, trying to make him think we are going vertical to the outside on a speed release. So a couple things have to happen on this wide step. Your right foot has to step outside of the DB's frame, and you have to make sure that we are selling with the upper half. You have to commit to the speed release. So let's play this full speed. So he comes off here, wide step, and gets that DB to jump. Now he runs a whip, which kind of ends him back up into the DB, but like honestly, like, what are you gonna do? You gonna change the route and just run a slant? No, but the wide step release is what we are focusing on here. So when he comes off the ball and does this wide step, I want you to pay attention to a couple things. First off, what does he do with his back leg before stepping? You see how he takes that little kick step behind? That step, that loads up your hips. So many people hate on that step, and they're like, oh, that's a false step. You should never do that. You never get any explosion like that. Why does he do it, and why does every single NFL wide receiver do it? Because it gives you explosion. It gives you more burst because he's loading up his hips so he can throw his hips and actually sell. Because you see when he makes this cut, his body doesn't stay over here where he started. He's bringing his hip, he's bringing his shoulders all the way with this step. That is what gives you balance on this cut and explosion on this cut. Your hip is attached to your foot. That's how I want you to think of it. So when you step outside the DB's frame like this and your body goes this way, your shoulders, your hips go this way, remember we talked about it. Off man or press man, where are the DB's eyes? Watching my hips. So this wide step is a great way to get him to jump because I have the opportunity to sell with my hips and actually step far. And you see what he doesn't do. He doesn't open up his toe like we were talking about in that first example. He keeps that toe forward. He keeps the weight distributed on the inside part of his leg so he could push and he can drive out of that thing with some speed. But also sell it, fellas. So on this wide step, you got to make sure that we use some kind of kick step with the back foot, I feel. Some people like to use something called a prep step. Some people call it a gather step. But you take your front foot and you essentially just pick it up and put it down in place and you push off of it, which will help you sell with the outside. I personally like the kick step if it's quick. Doesn't need to be a big over-exaggerated move, but it's just to get you to step and threaten outside this guy's frame. Let's play this again full speed one more time. Great job by Cook getting this guy to jump and then breaking this thing off back to the outside. All right, fellas, really want to thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. If you guys have any questions at all, don't hesitate to leave those in the comment section below. Always appreciate the feedback. It's always great to hear from you guys. And again, fellas, if you'd like to come out and get some work in with us in 14 different states this offseason that we will be traveling out to, check out that very first link in the description below. We'd absolutely love to have you there. I'll see you guys next time.